Okay, you guys are not going to believe this. So let's get the worst part out of the way first, right? Like ripping off a band-aid. My mother-in-law hijacked my wedding, ran up a $45,000 bill behind my back, and then called it a gift so she could own me for the rest of my life. I remember the moment she told me. I was standing in her ridiculously pristine all-white living room, still smelling like airport air and stale pretzels. I felt the blood drain from my face. I literally couldn't breathe. It felt like the floor had just dropped out from under me and I was falling. All I could think was, she bought me. She actually just bought me. But you know what? 6 months later, I made her pay for every single cent of that gift. And not with money. Oh no, it was so much better than that. Let me take you back. Before all this, things were fine. Normal even. My fiancé, Liam, is the best guy in the world. He's sweet, he's funny, and most importantly, he's simple, like me. We're not fancy people. We like pizza on a Friday night, hiking on a Saturday, and sleeping in on a Sunday. And his mom, Brenda? Well, Brenda is the opposite of simple. Brenda is extra. Everything about her is extra. Her hair is extra blonde, her nails are extra long, her house smells extra strong of gardenias, and her opinions are extra loud. For the first couple of years we were dating, it was manageable. She'd make little comments. Oh, Chloe, you're wearing AU flats? A woman's power is in her heel, dear. Or, you're serving chili for your dinner party, how rustic. I'd just smile and nod. Liam would roll his eyes when she wasn't looking, and we'd laugh about it later. She was his mom. Annoying but harmless. At least that's what I thought. When we got engaged, everything kicked into a higher gear. We sat her and my parents down to tell them our plans. We're so excited, I said, holding up my simple little engagement ring that I adored. We want something small, intimate, on the beach at sunset. My mom cried happy tears. My dad beamed. Brenda's face sort of twitched. A beach? She said, drawing the word out like it tasted bad. With all that sand? Yeah, Liam said, squeezing my hand. It's what we both want, Mom. Something relaxed, no stress. Oh, the irony. We had a budget, $15,000. It was all our savings and we were proud of it. We spent months planning. I found the perfect, simple, flowy dress online for $500. We booked a taco truck instead of a stuffy caterer. Our biggest expense was the photographer because that's what mattered to us. The playlist was full of songs from our first dates. Every little detail was us. It felt perfect. It felt real. Brenda, of course, had suggestions. A taco truck? Chloe, people will get salsa on their outfits. You need a string quartet, not a Spotify playlist. A 7-tiered cake is the minimum for a wedding of any significance. Each time, we'd say, thanks, Brenda, but we've got it covered. We want it to be simple. And she'd smile that tight little smile of hers and say, of course, dear, it's your day. Your day. I want you to remember those words. So, fast forward to a week before the wedding. My maid of honor planned a bachelorette weekend for me and my 5 best friends in Miami. I was so excited. I packed my bags, kissed Liam goodbye, and told him to handle any last-minute wedding stuff. My only job was to relax and get a little bit of a tan. The whole weekend was a blast. We laid by the pool, we went out dancing, we drank way too many margaritas. I barely looked at my phone. I was just so happy, so present, so blissfully unaware of the storm that was brewing back home. I flew back on a Sunday evening. I remember exactly what I was wearing. A pair of comfy linen pants and a white t-shirt, my hair still a little crunchy with sea salt. I felt amazing. I got off the plane, turned my phone off, airplane mode, and saw a text from Liam. Hey babe, hope you had the best time. Mom wants us to come straight to her place from the airport. Says she has a huge surprise for us. See you soon. A surprise. My first thought was, oh God, what did she buy now? Maybe a ridiculously oversized crystal vase or something. Annoying, but whatever. I took an Uber to her house in the suburbs, dragging my sandy suitcase behind me. Liam's car was already in the driveway. I walked in, and Brenda was standing in the foyer, beaming. I mean, a smile so wide it looked painful. "Chloe, there's my beautiful bride-to-be. How was Miami? Did you get all the wildness out of your system?" she said, air-kissing both of my cheeks. "It was great, Brenda. So relaxing," I said. "Wonderful, wonderful. Come in, come in. Liam is in the living room. I have the most incredible news." The way she said it, my stomach did a little flip. It wasn't a good flip. It was that uh-oh feeling. I walked into the living room, and Liam was sitting on one of her perfect white couches. He looked weird, stressed. He gave me a weak smile, and then I saw it. On her giant marble coffee table, there were 3 pristine white binders. Each one had a label on the spine, printed in a fancy gold font. One said catering and floral, the next said entertainment and decor. The last one said venue upgrades. My heart started beating a little faster. What is all this?" I asked, looking from the binders to Brenda's gleaming face. "It's your wedding, darling," she chirped, clapping her hands together. "It's your perfect, elevated wedding." She sat down and opened the first binder like she was presenting a new car on a game show. "Okay, so I knew you loved the idea of a taco truck. So charming. But it just wasn't grand enough. So I took the liberty of calling your caterer. We are now having a full surf and turf sit-down dinner. Lobster for everyone." I just stared at her. I couldn't form words. I looked at Liam, and he was just staring at his hands. Useless. "And flowers," she continued, flipping a page to show a picture of a massive, cascading waterfall of white orchids. "Those little daisies you picked were sweet, but this is a statement. An archway of orchids for the ceremony." My voice came out as a squeak. "Brenda, we can't afford that." "Don't you worry about a thing," she said, waving her hand dismissively. She flipped to the next binder. Entertainment and decor. My whole body was starting to feel cold. "Your little playlist was a great start, but I hired a 12-piece band for the reception. They do a fantastic Frank Sinatra. And, for the cocktail hour, a string quartet." She was practically bouncing. "Oh, and I saw on your little plan that you didn't have any major wow factors. So," she paused for dramatic effect, "I ordered a custom ice sculpture, 2 swans, their necks forming a heart. It's going to be the centerpiece of the champagne tower, a champagne tower, an ice sculpture, a 12-piece band." This was not my wedding. This was some stranger's ostentatious, tacky nightmare. I felt dizzy. I finally looked straight at Liam, my eyes pleading with him to say something. Anything. He just looked back at me, helpless. "Brenda, stop," I said, my voice trembling. "Stop, what did you do?" Her smile didn't falter. "I made it perfect, sweetie. While you were off having fun, I was here, working. Day and night, calling every single one of your vendors. I upgraded everything, the linens, the lighting, the chairs. Oh, and the cake." She pulled out a picture of a monstrosity. It was at least 7 tiers high, covered in gold leaf and sugar flowers. "Your little 1-tier cupcake thing was cute for a child's birthday, but this is a wedding." Every word was a slap in the face. Cute for a child's birthday. Your little playlist. She was systematically tearing down every choice I had made, every piece of us that I had put into our day. I finally found my voice, and it was shaking with a rage I didn't even know I had. "How could you do this? We had a budget. We had a plan. This was our wedding, Brenda. Ours." "I know, dear, I know," she said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. "And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking about the cost." She leaned forward, her eyes twinkling. It was a terrifying sight. She reached out and patted my hand, which was now clenched into a fist on my knee. "Don't you worry your pretty little head about the money," she whispered. as if sharing a secret. I took care of everything, all the upgrade invoices, all the new contracts. It's all paid for. There was a beat of silence. I just stared at her, confused. Liam shifted on the couch. "It's my wedding gift to you both," she announced, her voice booming in the quiet room. "I wanted to give you the wedding you deserve, not just the wedding you could afford." I felt a tiny, stupid flicker of relief. Paid for. It's a gift. It's insane and it's a violation, but at least we're not in debt. And then she dropped the bomb. The original budget was, what, $15,000? So sweet, she said with a little laugh. The final bill for the perfect wedding came to just a little over $60,000. So my gift to you is the difference. $45,000, all paid for, all for you. $45,000. The air left my lungs. The room started to spin. This wasn't a gift. A gift is a toaster or a set of wine glasses. This was a transaction. This was a debt. Not a financial one, but a social one. An emotional one. A lifelong one. It was a price tag she had just hung around my neck. I looked at her smiling face and I saw it for what it was. This was a power play. This was her showing me and Liam and the entire world who was in charge. She hadn't just changed the flowers. She had rewritten our entire day, our story, and she had used a mountain of money to do it. It hurt so much because it wasn't about the money. I wouldn't have cared if she had spent $1 million if it was what we wanted. It hurt because she had silently, methodically, and gleefully erased me from my own wedding. She had taken my simple, personal, beautiful little dream and turned it into her gaudy, loud, expensive circus. And she had done it with a smile, calling it an act of love. I stood up, my legs feeling like jelly. "I have to go," I mumbled. Couldn't even look at Liam. I walked out of that house, got back in my Uber, and cried the entire way home. Not just sad tears. These were angry, hot, humiliated tears. As I lay in bed that night, listening to Liam come in and tiptoe around the room, too cowardly to even talk to me, one thought kept circling in my head. She thinks she won. She thinks she bought my silence and my compliance for $45,000. She thinks I'm just going to roll over and be her perfect, grateful daughter-in-law. But as the crying stopped, something else took its place. A cold, hard knot of resolve in the pit of my stomach. She called it a gift. I was going to call it leverage. And I decided right then and there, staring at the ceiling in the dark, that I was going to make her regret every single dollar she spent. She started a war. She just didn't know I was going to be the one to finish it. So, we had the wedding. And you know what? It was beautiful. I mean, objectively, it was a stunning event. The orchids were breathtaking, the 12-piece band was incredible, and yes, people went absolutely nuts for the lobster. My friends, who had no idea about the drama, kept coming up to me saying, "Chloe, oh my God, this is the most amazing wedding I've ever been to. You outdid yourself." And every single time I had to just smile and say, "Thank you," while on the inside I was screaming. It wasn't my wedding. I felt like an actress playing the lead role in a movie I hadn't even auditioned for. And Brenda, oh you guys, Brenda was in her glory. She floated around the reception in a silver sequin dress that was probably more expensive than my car, acting like the Queen Mother. She would grab my arm every 5 minutes to point something out. "Did you see the champagne tower in action, darling? A triumph." Or, "Everyone is raving about the cake. See? I told you." Every comment was a little twist of the knife, a reminder. I did this, I own this, I own you. Liam just drank a lot of champagne and tried to get me to dance, but I couldn't shake the feeling of being a fraud. The whole night, my perfect, simple, flowy $500 dress felt like a cheap costume under the glare of her $10,000 chandeliers. The weeks after the wedding were hell. Pure, subtle, psychological hell. I couldn't sleep. I'd just lie there at night, replaying that conversation in her living room over and over. That smug, triumphant look on her face, The weight of that $45,000 gift was suffocating. It came up all the time. If I mentioned we were trying to save for a down payment on a house, she'd say, "Well, it's a good thing you didn't have to waste your savings on a wedding, isn't it?" with a sickly sweet smile. If Liam and I went out for a nice dinner, she'd comment on my Instagram post, "So glad you two are treating yourselves. You deserve it." It was a constant, low-level torture. She had this invisible leash around my neck, and she loved to give it a little tug just to remind me it was there. I tried to talk to Liam about it, but he just didn't get it. "Chloe, can't we just move on?" he'd say. "She's not going to change. At least we had a great wedding, and we're not in debt." He saw it as a problem that was over. He didn't understand that for me and for Brenda, it had just begun. He didn't see the power dynamic she had created. He just saw his loud, overbearing mom. I saw a master manipulator. I knew I couldn't live like this. I couldn't spend the rest of my life, every holiday, every family dinner, feeling like I owed this woman my soul. The anger from that first night never went away. It just settled. It went from a hot, boiling rage to something cold and hard and patient. I started watching her, really watching her. I played the part of the dutiful, grateful daughter-in-law. I went to her weekly family dinners. I brought her flowers. I thanked her over and over for the dream wedding. I needed her to think she had won completely. I needed her to get comfortable. My first clue came about 2 months after the wedding. It was something so small I almost missed it. We were at her house for Sunday dinner, and her husband, Frank, Liam's dad, was paying bills at the kitchen counter. Frank is the opposite of Brenda. He's quiet, steady, a retired accountant. He's a man who believes in balanced checkbooks and sensible shoes. Brenda waltzed in, talking about the new patio furniture she wanted to order. "It's Italian, Frank. It will be perfect for the garden parties." Frank didn't even look up from his papers. He just said, "Brenda, we can't. Not after the big spend." Brenda's face tightened for just a fraction of a second. She shot a look at me and Liam, then let out a tinkling little laugh. "Oh, Frank, always so dramatic. He's talking about the new roof we put on. Last year, darlings, cost a fortune." But his tone, it wasn't about a roof. It was fresh, it was tense, and the way she covered for it so quickly, my brain filed that away. The big spend. The real breakthrough came a few weeks later, thanks to Liam, my poor, sweet, clueless Liam. He felt so guilty about the whole wedding thing, about not standing up for me. He kept trying to explain his mom, to make me understand her. "You have to get Chloe," he said one night. "Her whole life is a competition with her brother, my Uncle Robert. He's a surgeon, makes a ton of money, and his kids had these massive fancy weddings. Mom's always been obsessed with keeping up appearances, with showing everyone we're just as successful as they are." And that's when it clicked. All the pieces fell into place. The weird tension with Frank, the obsession with a grand wedding, the need for it to be a gift. It wasn't for me. It wasn't even for Liam. It was for her brother, for her friends, for her social standing. She had used my wedding as a prop in her own personal status war. That made me even angrier, but it also gave me an idea. This wasn't about love or generosity, it was about ego. And ego is a weakness. I knew I had to find out where that $45,000 actually came from. Brenda and Frank lived comfortably, but they weren't drop $45K on a whim wealthy. Frank was a retired accountant. He would never approve a frivolous expense like that. So Brenda had to have done it behind his back. My plan started to form. It was simple, really. I wasn't going to expose her to the whole world. I didn't want to humiliate Frank or hurt Liam. I just wanted my power back. I wanted to cut that invisible leash she had around my neck, and the only way to do that was to get my own leash and put it around hers. I needed proof. For a moment, I thought about trying to snoop around her house, but that was too risky. I was scared. I was terrified of getting caught, of making things 1,000 times worse. For a second, I almost gave up. I thought, maybe I should just live with it. Is it really worth the fight? But then I pictured her face at the wedding, that look of smug satisfaction, and the cold resolve came rushing back. Oh, it was worth it. So I did something smarter. I used Liam. I knew he wouldn't lie for me or conspire against his mom, but he was also a terrible keeper of secrets when he was feeling guilty. A few days later, I brought it up casually. You know, I said, stirring my coffee, I feel so bad that Brenda spent so much on us. I hope it didn't put you guys in a tough spot. Your dad seemed a little stressed the other day. Liam immediately got defensive, just like I knew he would. No, it's fine. Mom said she used some money from an old investment she had. Oh, that's great, I said, keeping my voice light and breezy. I'm so relieved. For a second, I was worried she'd done something crazy like take out a second mortgage or open a home equity line of credit or something. I just threw it out there, a total shot in the dark. And guys, you should have seen his face. He froze. He literally froze with his coffee cup halfway to his mouth. He couldn't have looked more guilty if he'd been caught with his hand in the cookie jar. He started stammering. What? No! Why would you? That's crazy. It was an investment, she said. Bingo. He didn't have to say another word. I knew. I knew as surely as I knew my own name. She had taken out a secret loan against their house to pay for my wedding. A loan that her fiscally prudent retired accountant husband almost certainly did not know about. The big spend. That was it. That was my leverage. That was my weapon. The plan was now crystal clear. Step 1. Wait. I had to wait for the perfect moment, an occasion where Brenda's image as the perfect wife, mother, and hostess was on full display. Step 2. Isolate her. I couldn't do it in front of anyone. This had to be a private conversation, a quiet surgical strike. Step 3, the kill shot. I wouldn't threaten her, I wouldn't yell. I would offer her a way to pay me back, not with money, but with my freedom. I didn't tell anyone. Not my best friend, not my mom, and especially not Liam. This was mine. For weeks I practiced what I would say in my head. I rehearsed it in the shower, in the car. I needed to be calm, collected, and in complete control. I felt my fear turning into a weird, nervous excitement. She had no idea what was coming. She was so sure she had me right where she wanted me. She had underestimated me. She thought I was just some simple girl who liked taco trucks and daisies. She was about to find out how wrong she was. The perfect opportunity fell right into my lap. Frank's 60th birthday party. Brenda, of course, was throwing a massive, elaborate party at their house. All their family and friends would be there. Her brother, Uncle Robert the surgeon, was flying in. It was the absolute peak of Brenda's social calendar. The pressure for everything to be perfect would be immense. And that's where I was going to make my move. You are not going to believe what happened when I finally confronted her. The night of Frank's 60th birthday party was exactly as over the top as I expected. Brenda had rented a marquee for the backyard, hired a catering staff in black and white uniforms, and there was, I kid you, not an oyster shucking station. It was the kind of party where everyone is laughing just a little too loudly, trying to show they're having the absolute best time. Brenda was in her element, flitting between guests, her silver dress shimmering under the fairy lights. To everyone else, she was the perfect hostess, the adoring wife. To me, she looked like a cornered animal wearing a costume. I spent the first hour playing my part. I mingled. I complimented Brenda on the canapes. I made small talk with Uncle Robert the surgeon, who was exactly as smug as I had imagined. Every smile I gave felt like I was sharpening a knife. Liam was having a great time, oblivious, happy to see his dad being celebrated. I felt a little bad, but this was bigger than him. This was about me getting my life back. My heart was pounding in my chest the whole time. I was so nervous I could barely eat, but I forced myself to hold a glass of sparkling water and look casual. I just kept telling myself, wait for the right moment, don't rush it. My chance came around 9 p.m. The cake, a ridiculous 3-tiered monstrosity because of course it was, had been cut. Most of the guests were on their second or third glass of wine, and the jazz trio Brenda had hired was playing softly in the background. I saw Brenda slip back into the house, probably to check on the caterers or freshen up. This was it. I excused myself from a conversation with one of Liam's aunts and followed her. Inside, my hands were clammy. I walked through the dining room and found her in the kitchen, giving quiet, clipped instructions to the head waiter. She was wiping a non-existent speck of dust off her perfect granite countertop. She was a coiled spring of anxiety. "Everything looks amazing out there, Brenda," I said, my voice startlingly calm. She jumped a little, not having heard me come in. She turned, forcing a bright smile. "Oh, Chloe. Thank you, dear. It's been a bit of a whirlwind, but it's all for Frank, you know." "Of course," I said, leaning against the doorframe, blocking her exit. "He seems so happy. It's a wonderful gift." I let the word gift hang in the air between us. Her smile faltered for just a second. "Brenda, can I talk to you for a minute? In private?" I asked, keeping my tone gentle, almost friendly. Her eyes narrowed slightly. "We're a bit busy right now, Chloe. It'll only take a moment," I said, not moving. "We can go into the study. No one will bother us there." The study was Frank's sanctuary. It was dark wood, leather chairs, and the quiet smell of old books. It was the most serious room in the house, which felt appropriate. She reluctantly led the way, and I followed, closing the heavy oak door behind us. The sounds of the party immediately muffled into a dull hum. It was just the two of us. She stood by the desk, crossing her arms. "What is it, Chloe? If this is about the wedding again, I really don't—" "It is about the wedding," I cut her off, my voice still quiet but firm. "It's about your gift, that incredibly generous $45,000 gift." She sighed, a long, theatrical sigh. "I thought we were past this. It was my pleasure to give you to the wedding you deserved." "I know," I said, taking a step closer, "and I've been thinking about it a lot. I feel so indebted to you. It doesn't feel right, you carrying that burden for us." She looked confused. This was not the conversation she was expecting. "Oh, it's not a burden, it's a—" "No, it is. It's a huge amount of money, and it must have been so difficult to manage without Frank knowing." And there it was. Her face, you guys, you had to be there. All the color just drained out of it. Her perfectly made-up mask of the gracious hostess completely crumbled. For the first time, I saw real, genuine fear in her eyes. She looked like I had just pointed a loaded gun at her. She stammered, I don't know what you're talking about. Frank knows all about our finances." "Does he?" I asked, taking another slow step forward. "Does he know about the home equity line of credit you took out in August? Right after you booked all those upgrades?" She physically recoiled like I had slapped her. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. She just stared at me, her chest rising and falling rapidly. "Gente, I'm not gonna lie. In that moment, seeing her so completely exposed, I felt a surge of pure, unadulterated power. It was exhilarating. All the months of feeling small and controlled and owned just evaporated. I was the one in charge now. I imagined Frank, being a retired accountant and all, would be very interested to know about a secret loan taken out against his house," I continued, my voice like ice. "Especially one used to pay for ice sculptures and champagne towers. How do you think Uncle Robert would react to hearing that story? Or all your friends out there?" She finally found her voice. It was a choked whisper. "You wouldn't." "Wouldn't I?" I said. "You had no problem humiliating me. You took my wedding, something that was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, and you made it about you. You made it a transaction. You put a price tag on me, Brenda. $45,000. You thought you could buy my obedience. You thought you could own me." Tears started to well up in her eyes. Not sad tears. These were panicked, Cornered animal tears. What do you want? She whispered. I smiled. A real smile. It's simple. You called it a gift. Now, I'm going to give you a gift in return. The gift of my silence. I walked over to Frank's desk and picked up a pen and a piece of his monogram stationery. I slid them across the polished wood towards her. Here's the deal, I said, my voice clear and steady. Our debt is settled. Effective immediately. You will never, ever mention the wedding gift again. You will not hold it over my head. You will not make subtle comments at family dinners. You will not use it to manipulate me or Liam. It is done. It is erased. As far as the world is concerned, you gave us a wedding gift, and I was graciously thankful. And the story ends there. You and I will be perfectly civil, but the leash is gone. She was shaking her head, crying silently. Okay. Oh, we're not done, I said. This isn't a verbal agreement. I want it in writing. Her eyes shot up to mine, wide with disbelief. What? You heard me. You are going to write a letter. To me, you're going to write that the $45,000 for the wedding was a no-strings-attached gift, given freely and with no expectation of anything in return, and that you consider all social and familial obligations related to it to be fulfilled and concluded. That's insane, she hissed. No one does that. You're going to do it, I said calmly. And then you're going to sign it, and I'm going to keep it, and if you ever for 1 second forget the terms of our new arrangement, I will show this little letter to Frank, and then maybe to Uncle Robert, and then maybe I'll just frame it and put it on my mantelpiece. You guys? She stared at the paper like it was an egg. She was trapped, completely and utterly trapped. She knew I had her. She knew I would do it. She saw in my eyes the same ruthless determination she probably saw in her own mirror every morning. She looked from the paper to my face and back again. The fight just drained out of her. Her shoulders slumped in defeat. She picked up the pen, her hand trembling so badly I thought she was going to drop it, and she started to write. Watching her write that letter was the sweetest revenge I could have ever imagined. It wasn't loud or explosive, it was quiet. It was devastating. It was me taking back every ounce of power she had stolen from me. Each scratch of the pen on the paper was the sound of my freedom being written into existence. When she finished, she pushed the paper towards me without looking at me. Her signature was shaky. I picked it up, folded it neatly, and tucked it into my purse. Thank you, Brenda, I said, my voice light again. This means so much to me. Now, I think we should get back to the party, don't you? Frank will be wondering where we are. I walked to the door and opened it. The sounds of the party, the music and the laughter, rushed back in. She was still standing by the desk, looking broken. She looked smaller, older. For a split second, I almost felt a pang of pity for her. Almost. But then I remembered the way I felt standing in her living room that day, humiliated and powerless. And the pity vanished. I walked out of that study with my head held high, my purse clutched in my hand like a trophy. I hung it. It was over. She didn't own me anymore. In fact, if you really think about it now, I kind of owned her. So when I walked out of that study, back into the noise and the fairy lights of the party, it was like I could breathe again for the first time in months. The air felt lighter. The jazz music didn't sound annoying anymore. I went and found Liam, who was laughing with his dad by the ridiculously oversized cake. He wrapped his arm around me. There you are. Where'd you go? Just chatting with your mom, I said, giving him a real, genuine smile. I was just telling her what a wonderful party this is. A few minutes later, Brenda emerged. You guys, she was a changed woman. The sparkling life of the party hostess was gone. She looked deflated. She spent the rest of the night with a fixed, brittle smile on her face, mostly sticking by Frank's side and avoiding eye contact with me. If our paths did cross, she was painfully polite. Chloe, can I get you another drink, dear? Chloe, are you warm enough? It was like I was a visiting dignitary. She was terrified of offending. The power shift was so real, so immediate, it was almost comical. So, how are things today? 6 months later? It's like we're living in a different reality. Our relationship is a cold war, but a peaceful one. We have Sunday dinners, we do holidays, but the game is over. The little digs, the passive-aggressive comments, the constant reminders of her generosity, they're all gone. She doesn't try to control my life anymore. When Liam and I announced we were finally buying our own small condo, instead of saying something snarky, she just said, "Oh, that's wonderful, I'm so happy for you." And that was it. Liam, bless his heart, is completely oblivious. He just thinks his mom finally mellowed out. He once said to me, "See, I told you she'd come around. I'm so glad you two are getting along better now." I just smiled and said, "Me too." I never told him what I did. It would break his heart and put him in an impossible position. This was never about him. It was a war fought between two women, and it ended in a silent, secret truce. My little signed letter is tucked away in a safe deposit box. My insurance policy. I've never had to look at it again, but just knowing it's there is all the security I need. And Frank, get this, he's happier than I've ever seen him. I think Brenda's secret spending and social climbing stressed him out more than anyone knew. Now that she's scared to make any big financial moves without his approval, their house is probably the most fiscally sound it's been in years. So, in a weird way, I think I did him a favor too. Do I regret it? Would I do it again? Absolutely, 100%. I'm not going to lie, a part of me enjoyed watching her face crumble in that study. It was good to see her knocked off her pedestal for a second, but my satisfaction doesn't come from her misery. It comes from my freedom. I don't wake up with that knot of anger in my stomach anymore. I don't dread her phone calls. I don't feel like a pawn in her social games. I walk into her house now as an equal, not as a debtor. It wasn't about destroying her, it was about saving myself, and it was worth every second of fear and anxiety it took to get here. What I learned through all this is that sometimes the people who are supposed to love you the most can be the ones who try to control you the tightest. They disguise control as love. They wrap it up in a big, expensive bow and call it a gift. And you can feel so grateful that you don't even realize you're being put in a cage. My simple $15,000 beach wedding was my dream of freedom. Her $60,000 ballroom extravaganza was her beautiful gilded cage for me. I had to fight my way out. So yeah, my relationship with my mother-in-law is polite, it's distant, it will never be warm and fuzzy. And I'm okay with that, because it's real. It's a relationship built on a new, hard-won boundary. A boundary that is written down, signed, and sitting in a bank vault. She taught me a valuable lesson, my mother-in-law. Family isn't a blank check for bad behavior, and love isn't something you can buy. And most importantly, nobody gets to write your story for you, especially not the ending.